Hey, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. It's time for E3. I'm so excited to be able to share this time with you. And so I hope that you will start to join me. Come on in, everybody. Come on in and be empowered and enriched and encouraged and motivated through E3. I want to first welcome every one of you who will be participating and sharing tonight. I've had an absolutely extraordinary weekend. It's been crazy, and I'm grateful to the folks who's a part of our church and ministry who made every effort to make it really, you know, I just next in this second, just amazing, and so I'm excited, and so we get a chance to spend some time together. I'm not gonna hold you very long tonight, and so just kind of help me invite some people to join us. Just kind of find us and invite people to join us. It's gonna be amazing. And so I'm just kind of inviting some people now, and I'll jump right in. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of the anniversary wishes, and I appreciate all of you for that. That's amazingly kind. I want to go ahead and jump right in because I've got a feeling a lot of what I want to say tonight. You may have already heard in some way, shape, or form, but a part of what my assignment is to do everything in my power to grow you and to stretch you. And so I want to begin by just simply saying, and I believe this, I believe that God wants us to live productive and effective lives. I believe that we're created to live productive and effective lives. I believe as well that we are created to find our space in the world and then live that space out with everything we can. All right. I believe that our lives are supposed to be filled with answers and not just filled with questions. And that we're supposed to be able to see movement in our lives, to see that we're moving forward. So I am absolutely convinced that God wants me to live that kind of life. I believe it. It's no way that I'm gonna wake up every day and believe that I'm not supposed to live a life that is filled with strength, filled with focus, filled with accomplishments, completion, filled with movement, a life that is filled with opportunities, a life that is really moving in the right direction. I believe that. And I believe because God has created me like that and wants me to live like that, that I have to do everything in my power to partner with what he's called and created me to do. And because I believe that because we're created in the image of God and made out of that image, I believe very strongly that no one who is created out of the image of God should live a life where they're not seeing movement. And so I want you to put in the thread, movement is my assignment. Put in the thread, movement is my assignment. And because I believe that movement is my assignment, I believe that I'm supposed to wake up every day, and I'm gonna say it again, going somewhere that is that is moving me towards purpose. Okay. Every day I'm supposed to wake up and I'm supposed to say, this is the day I've been created to move in the direction that God has created for me. Life must be measured by movement and progress. And I need everyone to grab a hold of that. Okay. So let's begin by talking about what creates movement. Okay. What creates movement? That's what I want to deal with tonight. What creates movement in your life? Here's the first thing. Movement is created by your ability to wisely ignore the wrong voices. Okay. This wow. Movement is created with your ability to wisely ignore the wrong voices. One of the reasons why people don't move is because they're listening to the wrong voices. They're listening to people who have no godly clue who you are, what you're created for, and why you exist. And so it takes courage to decide who you're going to listen to and who you're not going to listen to, right? Because there is the temptation to listen to the wrong voices. Seriously, there's the temptation to listen to the wrong voices, to actually allow yourself to be brought into covenant with voices that are not ordained for your life. Right? And so initially and immediately you start to participate in listening to voices that have no purpose. And because of that, it begins to affect your thought process, right? Because now you're listening to these voices or listening or taking advice or taking counsel from or sitting in the counsel of people who have no earthly godly clue of who you're created to be. And what they're doing is that they are informing you, you ready, from the limitations of their own experience and not from the vast nature of discernment. They are informing you from the limitations of their experience instead of the vastness of discernment. Discernment allows them and or you to see the bigger picture, to understand that there's something amazing happening. So the first thing you got to do is to learn how to wisely ignore voices and opinions of people who are trying to draw you in to conflict, to pettiness, and to unhappiness. Please don't miss this, right? If I keep listening to the wrong people or I get caught up in the wrong conversations and I begin to allow my life to be turned by these conversations, that what ultimately happens is that I ultimately give away my strength. And so if I'm going to ignore unhealthy voices, then I'm going to be open to voices that I begin to discover have the ear of God, whose ear is turned to the voice of God. And because their ear is turned to the voice of God, their mouth is now turned to my destiny. Because their ear is turned to the mouth of God, because their ear is turned to the mouth of God, their mouth now is turned to my destiny. And so when they talk to me, they're going to talk to me as someone who is speaking out of purpose. So you got to wisely ignore those whose voices do not speak the purpose of God for your life, which means you got to have some idea of what the voice of God sounds like to you. Okay? Here's the second thing that creates movement. Positive thinking that envisions success. Positive thinking that envisions success. So I am someone who has learned this, how to be positive, envisioning success. Because you got to envision it. You got to, you got to be able to look at your life and see the possibility. Like, wow, this can happen. And so you talk about movement, what you're really talking about is the ability to think progress before doing the things that produces progress. I'm not going to hold you long tonight. So I want you guys to jump in and get this. Positive thinking then starts with every perception of every situation that comes into your life. Positive thinking starts, you ready? It starts with every perception of everything that comes into your life. So the way I perceive a thing, and then the way I interpret it, you ready? And the way I communicate about it, the way I describe it, determines to what extent I'm going to be a positive thinker. So if I see it raining outside, and my perception of rain is that it's a bad thing, then immediately I'm going to enter into a place of saying all of the things I can't do now because it's raining. I can't go outside. I can't cut the grass. Well, I wasn't going to cut anyway. I can't do this. I can't do that, right? And all of these things you now can't do because it's raining, because the way you perceive rain is negative. And because you perceive rain negatively, then now all of a sudden rain comes, and now all the things that you wanted to do, you now can't do. And now you do nothing because the perception, you ready? Put this in the thread. Negative perceptions paralyze. Put that in the thread. Negative perceptions paralyze. So the moment that I have a negative perception about my spouse, the moment that I build up a negative perception about my spouse, my marriage is now paralyzed. If I believe that my spouse is a bad person, or if I believe my spouse is a miserable person, or if I believe that my spouse is not good for me anymore, I am now in a place of paralysis. And because of the negativity that is now settled in, I find it almost impossible to enjoy anything about my life. And here's why. Because it's hard to enjoy something about your life when you are dealing from a deficit in terms of perception. It is difficult to celebrate anything when you're dealing from a deficit. Negativity, negative perception paralyzes. It does. It paralyzes. And if some of you were to be honest and you were to admit, you would be further along if your perceptions had always been consistently positive. Because some things were not a problem, but it was how you perceived it. And I've come to understand this. Rab, I've come to understand that everything is negative. And if my perception of it is negative, then everything about it that's tied to that is going to be negative. Progress doesn't happen when you have negative perceptions, which immediately brings you into a paralyzed state. So you got to stay focused on the things that will make you see things in a way that gives you the inspiration to go forward. It's how you think. It's what voices you ignore. What conversations you don't allow yourself to enter into. But watch this. How you think, what voices you ignore, you ready? Now moves you into what I think is powerful. You making a conscious decision upon what are really dreams and goals that you should go after. Listen, as you are, because all this is simultaneous behavior. This isn't step 1, step 2, step 3. All this is simultaneous behavior. So watch this. As you are learning to ignore certain voices that are unwise, and as you're learning to readjust and reconfigure your perceptions so your perceptions see the future that you desire. And when you look at situations in your present, you don't see the negativity of it, you see the positivity of it. Watch this. As all of that begins to happen and your perceptions begin to change, and this begins to change, and that begins to change, let me tell you one of the most amazing things that happens. Now you can begin to think about what are really the dreams that I have for my life and what are really the goals that I need to be going after. Wow. When you settle in on what dreams and what goals, now you have taken ownership of the life that you desire. And here's the other thing is all of a sudden, now God can do the unexpected because he's got a vision by which you have agreed to work in. Whenever you lead an organization, and I've led several, whenever you lead an organization, if an organization doesn't have a clear way of thinking, because the leader is not clear, and the leader doesn't have a vision, and the leader is not dreaming, then what happens to the organization is that people with no vision determine direction, which tends to be no movement. Those who have visions and dreams will always be perceived as out of step with the world until it becomes motivated, until they become motivated to manifest. Got it? When you become motivated to manifest, that's when you will see God's favor like never before. But you will not see God's favor if you're sitting around having conversations with unwise people and trying to live life out of negative perceptions. So it becomes strategically important that to have dreams and visions, you've got to begin to open yourself up. So how do you do that? One, you have to have seasons where you shut down the phone, you don't answer emails, and you give yourself away to God. You shut the door and you enter into a place of solitude and you hear the voice of God for you and your life. And let me tell you something that's very important. When you have the courage to do this, you will find yourself wanting to do it more, because what will be the consequence of it will be that you are receiving things that make a difference in your life. Solitude then is profoundly important because it's a place of cleansing, it's a place of focus, and it's a place of clarity. You got your goals, your dreams, you're learning to ignore unwise voices. Your perceptions are positive, which now feeds your thoughts. And now your ability to interpret things is different. And you got these dreams, these goals, this clearly positive perception while you're ignoring unwise voices. And now you do something amazing. You take action. And that's really where I want this to end. You take action. Wow. All of a sudden, you enter into execution mode. Everybody put in the thread, it's time to execute. You enter into execution. And what's amazing is when you enter into execution, now everything seems different. Now everything seems different. Now, all of a sudden, you're actually seeing life through a different lens. It's time to execute. And that's what I heard. It's time to execute. It's time to take ownership of your actions. It's time to trust the direction of God. It's time to execute. No more sitting around having conversations with people who have no desire to move anywhere other than from the couch to the lounge chair. No, it's time to execute, right? You cannot, and because it's time to execute, here's two things that you can no longer do. You can no longer make excuses that it's somebody else's fault. You can no longer make excuses that it's somebody else's fault, that somebody didn't help you and somebody, no, it's time for you to execute. Here's the second thing you can't do. You can't complain about where your life is. Can't complain about where your life is. You want to know why? Because it's on you to execute. On Wednesday, my family and I are going to get in the car. We're going to drive to Richmond, Virginia. We're going to check into the hotel. And then July 1st, I am scheduled to get up and be on campus by 9 o'clock. I have the authority to stay in Jacksonville and not go to Virginia. I have the authority to do it. But because I have a positive perception about this opportunity, and because I refuse to listen to unwise voices, and because I'm a dreamer with goals and objectives, we are driving 9 hours, checking in a hotel, and then Thursday morning, I'm getting up, I'm getting dressed, and I'm going to the campus of Virginia Union. It's time to execute. Blame no one for how you end up. Blame no one for how you end up. Blame no one for what you end up with. If you're not prepared for the end of your life, or you're not prepared for marriage, or you're not prepared to walk in victory, don't blame anybody else anymore. Take ownership of your life and move forward. It's time to execute. That's E3 for tonight, y'all. I will be back next Monday. I'm sure that's a holiday. I'm sure for some companies and groups, that's a holiday. And so I will be back next week, next Monday, and every Monday, whether I'm in Jacksonville or Richmond, I will be here. Well, I will be here sharing my thoughts about living the life you're created to live. And here's why. Because it's time to execute. Stop listening to unwise voices, right? Change or clean up your perception so you can get a hold of your thoughts, because that's going to walk you into what should really be my dreams and my goals and my desires. And once those three things are wonderfully packaged, and they should be, time to execute. Love you guys. I'm not going to push y'all tonight to do E3, JEG. Don't worry about it, man. Let's just right now, what I want to do is I want to push some of you into your greatest season. I really do. I don't want you to let up. I don't want you to feel fearful. I want to push you into your greatest season, and I want you to achieve the greatest things you can achieve. And all of you have the ability to do that. All you have the ability to do that. All you have the ability to live amazing, incredible, and awesome lives. So let's go live it. All right. Let's not be afraid. Let's not be apprehensive. Let's go live incredible lives. Be blessed, everybody. I will see you all next week as we are empowered, educated, and equipped to live our best lives.